All right, guys. So it was reported yesterday that on her anniversary of being mayor of Chicago, Miss Lori Lightfoot decided that she was granting one-on-one interview requests to people of color only, more specifically black and brown people only. Now, this was reported by the local news media. It made national news for obvious reasons, because this is just a textbook example of anti-racism, right? Regressive practices from the left in order to try to fight racism with, again, more racism. Okay, now Miss Lori Lightfoot got a lot of criticism from those on the right for good reason, because again, this is textbook racist. And she says, quote, "I ran to break up the status quo that was failing so many. This isn't just in City Hall. It's a shame that in 2021, the City Hall press corps is overwhelmingly white in a city where more than half of the city identifies as Black, Latino, AAPI, I think that's Asian and Pacific Islander, or Native American. Diversity and inclusion is imperative across all institutions, including media. In order to progress, we must change." So, you know, guys, it's funny because if I was to come out, or a white person was to come out and say something about how there's a concerted effort on the left to kick out white people from certain positions or to diversify certain positions, right? So certain aspects of our society, particularly at the expense of white folks, they would say that's a white supremacist talking point. But yet, Ms. Lori Lightfoot literally goes on Twitter and says, yeah, I think that, you know, our press corps is too overwhelmingly white. That's what she's saying. And she's saying because of that, she wants to grant one-on-one interview requests to people who are non-white. Now, the obvious talking point here is that, again, imagine if Joe Biden or if a white person comes out and says, hey, I'm only granting interview requests to white people today. Okay? Just imagine if he said that. What do you think the reaction would be? People be calling him racist. They'd be saying that you are racist. You're being racist. You are discriminating against black and brown people. That's what they would say. And they would be right to say that. Okay? That would be racist. But yet, for whatever reason, we live in a society where people can just openly say, I am going to discriminate against white people because I want to give opportunity to others solely based off their race. And it's crazy because you only hear this from the woke revolutionaries when it comes to non-sports industries, right? You never hear the woke revolutionaries demand more diversity and inclusion when it comes to athletes in sports. Why is there not a demand for more diversity and inclusion in the NFL when it comes to football players on the field? The woke revolutionaries are making an argument that, well, society, we need to organize things around proportionality, right? So depending on what portion you are of society, you have to be represented that equal amount, right? So black people are what, 13%? Okay, so that means that, hey, we need 13% of representation, or we need more representation in corporate America. And I really do think that these people overestimate how many black people are actually in this country. I really think they do, okay? Because what that means is that in that press room, to fit their narrative, to fit what they want, what they say they want, 1 out of every 10 to 11 people in that room need to be black, right? If it's any more than that, then by their same argument, then we have to start discriminating against black folks. We have to start discriminating against them because you're overrepresented. Okay? Just like I can make the argument that black people are overrepresented in the NBA and in sports. But again, they never want to talk about that. And I mean, part of the reason why is because, you know, white people never complain about sports being too black, right? For this so-called racist society that they claim that we live in, white people are not out here complaining about, oh, why is the NFL too black? Or why is the NBA too black? They just say, well, no, they're the best athletes. They just happen to be black and, hey, it's entertaining, right? And at least it was entertaining until they went super woke. But regardless, you get my point. And this is always a top-down approach, right? This is the top-down approach to trying to solve the diversity and inclusion problem. And guys, it's not that I don't think that diversity is important. I think that diversity of thought in particular is very, very important, right? It's definitely more important than diversity of race. But this top-down approach is literally what's causing a lot of division in our society in regards to this race conversation. When the approach really should be a bottom-up approach, right? As mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot has more pressing issues, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But if you feel that this is an issue, that there are not enough black and brown journalists in the room, why don't you focus on trying to mold journalists, okay, and help people earn those positions? Help people who don't have those opportunities earn a position so that you have more people in the room, rather than saying, I'm only going to get interviews to these people right here, right? Why don't you do that? Why don't you focus on the education aspect? Why don't you try to inspire more people to become journalists and take a more bottom-up approach and have them earn their way to being a part of the press room and being a part of this, rather than just openly discriminating against other people? Okay? Just openly discriminating. But like I was alluding to, in a city like Chicago, why is this even a pressing issue right now? Why is this even a pressing issue? Because this city is the same city where so far this year, guys, 108 children have been shot. 16 have died so far this year. 108 children have been shot. But yet the mayor is worried about diversity in the press room, guys. That's what she's worried about. You're worried about diversity in the press room when you have children being shot basically on a daily basis in your city, on your watch. On your watch. Not only that, you have 227 people have been killed so far this year. That's 36 more than it was in 2020. 227 people so far, guys, have been killed in Chicago this year. 227 people. Right? I mean, this city is basically having a mass shooting on a daily basis. There are mass shootings every weekend in Chicago. But yet what she's worried about is, how diverse is the press room? Are there enough black and brown people in our press room? It's hard to worry about becoming a journalist when, your neighborhood is getting shot up and you going to sleep to gunshots every single night. Hard to really worry about being a journalist. And guys, this is what frustrates me about these Democrats. The most pressing issues in regards to the black and brown communities, they never want to talk about. She don't want to talk about her city's failure to stop these mass shootings. She doesn't want to talk about how her city's basically ran by gangs. Okay, it's overrun with violence and crime. She doesn't want to talk about that. They never want to talk about that. Yet they come out here and they try to act like they're some type of race crusaders, Captain Save a Race. And they're worried about things that really don't have an immediate effect on black and brown people at all. Right? Okay, granting some interviews to some black and brown journalists, ultimately, what is that going to do? Ultimately, no, seriously, like, what is that going to do? Right? All it is, it's a virtue signal. It's, look at me, I'm woke. Okay? Look at me, I'm woke. And I wonder, would she appreciate this type of discrimination against her white wife? Right? And it's funny because these super woke people like Don Lemon that are so concerned about black and brown people and diversity and inclusion, and they're so woke, they always turn around and marry white folks. Which, again, I have no problem who you want to marry, the race that you want to marry. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But I'm just saying, how is it that you always come out here and rag against white people and things being too overwhelmingly white, and then you turn around and you marry somebody white? Like Don Lemon, he always ranting about white males and white supremacy, but yet he go to bed every single night with a white man. You lay beside a white man every single night, and after you just went on air and just complain about how bad white men are. It's crazy to me. It really is. Like I said, man, if a white person or a white mayor was to say, I'm only granting interviews to white people, it will be seen as racist. And I'm going to tell you guys, I really do believe this. We're going to get to a point when white people are going to start doing that, right? There are white people that are going to start saying, you know what? our population is declining relative to everybody else. I think it's time for us to have some pro-white stuff, right? I think it's time for us to start giving opportunities just to white people because we feel like we're disadvantaged. That's literally what's probably going to happen. And woke movement will set the precedent for it to happen. They're going to create a generation of white people who feel like, oh, well, we need special privileges. We need to start doing white only things, right? And then talking about the white community. That's going to be a thing, which something I've never heard in the past. I've never heard any white people talk about the white community. They're literally going to start saying stuff like that. That's literally what's going to happen. And then when it happens, nobody can complain about it because, again, the precedent has been set that if you feel like you're a minority or if you're in a minority group, then you get special privileges. They're setting the precedent for it to happen. It might not be 5 years. It might not even be 10 years. But I think 20, 30, 40 years down the road, we're going to see a reversal of this where you're going to start to get, again, white people talking about saying the same things that a lot of these people are saying because they lived through times where it's okay to be openly racist if you're a part of a so-called minority group. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.